Hello, I am Megan and welcome to Battle Royale with Cheese, the website where you can get all of your film and TV news, reviews and trailers. Deadpool and Wolverine, the team up that everyone wanted, whether they liked it or not. They team up to defeat a common enemy and save both of their worlds. I've deliberately done a vague synopsis read just because a lot of my thoughts might go into spoiler territory. I have just come back from the midnight screening of the film and yeah, a lot of it might go into spoiler territory. So how this video is going to work is I will give my general thoughts on the film, then I will put a spoiler warning into the video, and then we're just going to go straight into spoilers, straight into the cameos, just all my thoughts on stuff that might be considered spoilers. Weirdly, like with Avengers Endgame, I think the one thing that I do appreciate with the trailers and the promotion for Deadpool and Wolverine is that they haven't really shown much. So again, yeah, I don't really know what thoughts are going to lead into spoiler territory and what thoughts aren't. So best to have this part of the video be my general thoughts and then have a spoiler warning and then spoiler thoughts. So what did I think of the film? I have been really looking forward to this for a long time actually. Deadpool is one of my favourite Marvel characters and it was a lot of fun. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed this. If not, it has one or two issues. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have fantastic chemistry together, and if you've seen the marketing leading up to this, you'll know that they have fantastic chemistry. They're so good on screen together, and they also had a lot more fight scenes than I was expecting. But considering what the poster is and what the marketing was, I feel like maybe I should have been expecting that. But it was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun to see Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine, and it was fun to see their rivalry / friendship develop as the film went on, and some of it was heartwarming and some of it was really funny. And I think the one thing I was worried with this film is whether both characters were going to get equal screen time. Was Wolverine going to get more screen time than Deadpool? Was Deadpool going to get more screen time than Wolverine? But actually they got equal screen time. Plus Logan's actually a big plot point in this film. He's there for a reason. He is important. He hasn't just been thrown into the film because there is a reason and a purpose for him being there. Which again, not going to say here, going to leave it for spoilers. I think also with the Disney purchase of 20th Century Fox, I was also worried about whether the violence was going to be toned down, the swearing was going to be toned down, because again, Disney, but they pretty much let you know in the first few seconds that just because Deadpool's now Disney, they ain't going to tone anything down. And oh boy. And I'm only mentioning that now because it's literally in the first few seconds of the film. Emma Corrin plays Cassandra Nova, one of the villains in the film, and she was fantastic. She is terrifying the second she is on screen, and she makes her presence known straight away. She lets you know that she is a threat, and she played the role fantastically. She was amazing. But because of her superpowers, she's also the leverage for some of the exposition as well. So again, she was also important too. And yeah, she was amazing. She was so scary and a real threat, which she needed to be for that type of character. The film does have a different composer this time round, so Rob Simonson provides the music for Deadpool and Wolverine, but I'd say he did a really good job. The style of the music really suited the film, but also blended in perfectly with the overall franchise, with the style of the film, with the tone, and it was fantastic. It was really great. So the only issue I had was that the pacing was a little uneven. So the first half definitely felt like it happened a bit too quickly. I mean, aside from that, I had a great time. I really enjoyed this. So with that all being said, let's do spoilers. So I put up an image to say spoiler warning. I'm going to give you a couple more seconds to switch off. I know that the film has just come out, so if you have not yet seen it, go see it. Please go see it because it's amazing, and then come back. So let's start with the reason why Logan is actually really important and integral to the plot. So the overall sort of conflict, or the first conflict that's introduced into the film, is that Deadpool's timeline is going to be erased because of something that happened that was not supposed to happen. The thing that happened was that Logan died. Do you remember the film Logan? Yeah, that was never supposed to happen, and that was in Deadpool's timeline. So actually, Wolverine and Logan are really, really important to the plot. They are technically one of the big plot points. They're the reason, or he's the reason this entire thing kind of starts. It's because of his death, essentially. And even the opening scene has Deadpool going back to the gravesite of Logan that we see in the film Logan. And he even mentions that, oh, are we gonna, be kind and respectful to the ending of Logan because it was really heartfelt? No. And that opening fight scene is amazing, where Deadpool essentially uses Logan's metal skeleton as weapons. It's amazing, it's graphic, and that was kind of the moment where I was like, okay, even though Deadpool is part of Disney, they're not toning down on the violence and the gore. And I actually really appreciate that, because it was one of the things I was worried about, was just because it's been Disney-fied essentially, was it going to be softened and toned down? And that is not the case here at all. And yes, there is a lot of cameos. So at one point, Logan and Deadpool are thrown into what is called the Void. So it's essentially a place where characters who are not needed anymore, or people who are not needed or not wanted, or are problems to their timelines, are thrown into this void, essentially. This is where we see in the trailers the 20th Century Fox logo. And yes, there's a lot of cameos. So we've got Johnny Storm, played by Chris Evans. Do you remember the original Fantastic Four film? That was very well introduced because he appears and Deadpool thinks he's going to do the Avengers Assemble catchphrase, and he doesn't, because obviously Deadpool thinks he's Captain America, and that is not the case here. And Chris Evans suddenly bursts into flames and he's Johnny Storm. That was fantastic. Elektra, played by Jennifer Garner, returns. So she was in the Ben Affleck Daredevil film, Wesley Snipes as Blade, and there's a really funny moment where he says, oh, I'm the only Blade that's going to exist. And obviously we know that the Blade Marvel Studios film is still happening, and Deadpool obviously breaks the fourth wall and says, And we were all thinking the same thing when it happened. Gambit, played by Channing Tatum. So from what I remember, there was supposed to be a Gambit Marvel Studios film, a Gambit solo film, where Channing Tatum was going to play Gambit. He finally got the opportunity. And actually, I really enjoyed his performance as Gambit. It was really, really good. And him and Deadpool actually bounced off each other really well because they had very similar personalities in this film. But also his powers are actually amazing once you see them in motion. And admittedly, I don't really know anything about Gambit, so this was actually a really cool thing to see. And also a bit sad as well to see, oh, this is what we could have had. But it was cool to finally give him that opportunity to be on screen. Others that appeared was Toad from the original X-Men film, Pyro and Juggernaut, again from the original X-Men films. I think the other most important one was X-23 from Logan. I think also that was the most emotional one as well, because when she's reintroduced, she immediately sees Logan, a different Logan, but she sees Logan. And we all know what happened the last time she saw Logan. And it was really emotional, actually, especially there's a scene where they both end up talking together when everyone else is away from them. And I do really appreciate that the scene happened. It's also where this Logan reveals his past and actually he let down all of the mutants in his timeline, all of the X-Men in his timeline, and got them killed. And I'm glad that he revealed his past to her rather than Deadpool. Deadpool does say earlier in the film, oh, are you going to reveal your past in like a flashback scene or something, like a third act flashback scene? And I'm glad that that didn't happen with Deadpool anyway. It technically did, but it happened with X-23, and actually I think that was a perfect way to do it. Because they have chemistry, they have, even if it's a different Logan from a different timeline, they do have history. So I think that was really important and actually really well done. So I think actually it was really good that those two got the scene together. And that's what I liked the most about them introducing the Void, is that actually you can bring back these characters who have been forgotten about. Plus, with Disney now owning 20th Century Fox, you can have these characters meet up and it makes sense and it works. There's no sort of legal problems, there's no troubles or anything. They can exist in the same world now, and that's actually really exciting. Oh yeah, and of course, this being the Void and the multiverse, the third act has a whole bunch of Deadpools. A whole load of different Deadpools and a fight scene involving Deadpool and Logan versus all of the other different types of Deadpools. And that, once again, was amazing. That was incredible to watch. That was so much fun to watch, because if you can imagine what that would be like, yes, you are correct. That's exactly what it's going to be like. And that was such a big surprise. And yes, Lady Deadpool is Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds' wife. I remember when Lady Deadpool did get introduced and a lot of people were saying it was going to be Ryan Reynolds. He very quickly dismissed it and said he's not playing it. It would have been funny if that was the case, but that's not the case. It's actually his wife, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, overall, Deadpool and Wolverine is a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. It's exactly what I wanted from the film. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are fantastic together, and they actually had a lot more fight scenes than I expected, but equal screen time at the same time. It does have some uneven pacing, but overall, I really enjoyed this. So, let me know your thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm going to go to sleep now, but I was Megan. This was Battle Royale with Cheese. See you soon.